We've played about as much Borderlands 3 as we're going to get before the launch of the game, and we just played as Flak, who has some real good boys.
The best boys.
You want to go on a hunt?
So it's important to understand now where Flak fits into all of the other Vault Hunters. We've played as Amara, Zane, and Moze. Flak comes across as a very good solo build.
For one, Flak has the pets that they can summon that offer as a way to kind of get some fire off of you. So you kind of have that companion even if you're playing by yourself. But at the same time, Flak's skill trees are built in a way that are very vertically focused as opposed to the horizontal skill trees of Moze, Amara, and Zane, where they have pretty good skills kind of halfway through their skill trees, so you're encouraged to mix and match between all three of their skill trees. Flak, on the other hand, is built very much like the Borderlands Vault Hunters of series past, where all of their best skills are at the bottom of the tree. So the best way to get to those skills is to just focus on one of the three trees and just keep putting points into that one. It's not that difficult to figure out, and probably the best character to choose if you're kind of struggling with how to play a Borderlands game for the first time.
Flak's skills are Rack Attack, Fadeaway, and Gamma Burst.
Which are different from the three pets that they have that are just summoned the entire time that you're playing and just exist, while Flak has the three active skills that they can use whenever their cooldown is ready.
That's a really important point to make. You can swap the pets independent of the skill trees at any time.
Yes.
Let's talk about the pets. They're so cute.
Yeah.
The Skag's name is Mr. Chew. He's in the Gamma Burst skill tree. Gamma Burst is where you literally like fire a teleport out. Your pet appears or like teleports in an explosion and then is irradiated and becomes a larger pet. It seems kind of I don't know, like I thought it was the most essential skill that Flak had because, you know, in addition to being almost an extra grenade, it's really the one that empowers, out of all of them, it empowers your pet the most.
I would definitely say of all the three active skills that Flak has, that is the one that seems to have an immediate benefit from the beginning of the game. The Rack Attack and just going invisible, they have pretty good perks, but you have to go kind of a ways down into the skill tree to get there, so it might be more beneficial to wait on those until you have maybe 8 to 10 skill points to invest into your character.
You also would have to justify why you need to go invisible because Borderlands 3 has a really well built out second wind state anyway, so you know your need to avoid death it's not necessary, and also the cost of being revived is not that great. So I don't know, like you'd have to think pretty hard before wanting to take an invisibility perk with you. But sorry, going back to the pets, Mr. Chew is hilarious. It was really hard for me to take cutscenes seriously with Mr. Chew walking around in the background, like vomiting ammunition out.
Yeah.
So like, he just randomly will like eat ammo and barf it out at random times. And like, you know, you can pet him and he'll like give you hearts. He's just a really hilarious companion.
I would say I used the spider ant while I was playing. He would just headbutt the ground like constantly, and Flak would be like, what are you doing? Like, because he's just a lovable idiot.
He's just got like a drill for an arm.
Yeah.
And then the Jabber, whose name is Meat Thief, he's an interesting one because he's sentient. So you don't get to pet him. Like when you want to do something with him, it says touch, but he like communicates with you in sign language, or he like waves his tail at you. Mm-hmm. He also can carry guns, which is kind of cool. And as you upgrade Meat Thief, he can carry better and better guns like an SMG or a rocket launcher.
Yeah, I would say the whole point of Flak is to try to, again, very vertically focused. Investing in a specific tree allows you to upgrade your pet as quickly as possible. But yeah, Flak is very vertically focused on one of them, as opposed to the other three, which now we can talk about all 4 of the Vault Hunters now that we've had a chance to play as all 4 of them.
Who's been your favorite so far?
I still think that my favorite out of all of them is Moze, just because you get so much freedom in how Iron Bear is built based on, she has like 2 to 3 different weapons in each of her skill tree, and you can mix and match all of them. I even tried running with 2 flamethrowers and it didn't work out super well, but like you have that option. You can just double up on a bunch of stuff. So I like outfitting it with a force field, an extra turret for my companion to jump onto, a machine gun, and either a flamethrower or a grenade launcher for some splash damage.
And we were able to play co-op, so I jumped on the back of Iron Bear. Mm-hmm. And you know, I like had varying degrees of success shooting at enemies. It's definitely fun to be able to ride on your friend's mech's back. Mm-hmm. This is actually a really good point to talk about like when Borderlands works and doesn't work. So Borderlands 3, like in the spirit of all Borderlands, it's super about controlled or uncontrolled chaos. And it's definitely got some very strong potty humor. And like, you know, if you like the Borderlands series, you're on board for both of those things.
At the last second, and then I did a triple backflip straight into his mouth, right past the teeth, and shot my way out his sphincter. I smelled like monster ass for weeks, but I'd do it again.
Where it doesn't work is, you know, they throw everything against the wall, and sometimes that variety leads to like so much crap on screen.
Yeah.
Like so many guns firing at once, so many effects going off. Like you were playing Iron Bear, you had 2 flamethrowers, and you couldn't even see what was happening because there was just too much stuff in front of you at any one time.
I would say, and in my previous time running with Moze and Iron Bear at E3, it was mostly fine, so I'm still not entirely sure if it was just the area we were in or just the fact that we were playing co-op. So there was just more powers on screen at one time. But it is definitely one of those things John Luke and I talked about in an earlier video, that this game is very vertically focused. Like you can now slide underneath stuff, you can climb on top of stuff. There's all these new vertical movements. You can like ground pound and do stuff like that. And so now enemies come at you from multiple directions instead of just swarming you from one side. And so you have to be more mindful of people coming from all directions, which is cool and awesome when you're playing solo, because you kind of have to measure where you use your powers and how you use them. But when it's co-op and there's multiple people on screen, I didn't quite realize until you and I played together, there's just so much happening when I'm like shooting and exploding on one side of the map and you're doing it on the other, and there's just all this noise and light and I can't tell what I'm doing, so I have to just stare at the mini-map and see where all the red dots are so I know what I'm shooting at.
There were definitely times when you had Iron Bear up where I was either on top of Iron Bear or shooting, where I was also just looking at the mini-map. Like in one boss fight in particular, there were so many status effects going off at one given time that you just look for the red dot and you fire in the general direction until you get hit markers.
Which I'm sure a lot of people enjoy, and like for some of it I did actually have fun, but at some point just playing the co-op, I just had the sinking feeling that I'm like, I don't know if I want to play Borderlands 3 with 4 people. I might only want to play it solo or with like one other person.
You were firmly a doll guy in terms of the weapons that you picked up.
Oh yeah.
I picked up some weapons, found some crazy weapons like Atlas with tracking darts, which was super essential for crazy boss fights because, again, like I couldn't see, so I would just tag a boss and then all my bullets would go there, or like firing around corners to get turrets. The COV weapons are hilarious. Like you fire, and rather than them running out of bullets and you need to replace the mag, you just literally pull out a squirt gun and start trying to cool it down in the middle of a firefight. There's just such a variety and pleasure behind the weapons, and some of them are completely useless, which is part of what makes the game hilarious. You're always afraid of leaving a gun behind and not trying it because it might do something ridiculous.
I will say this game does a much better job at encouraging me to loot items off of the ground and trying new things, as opposed to previous Borderlands games where I would just find the one thing that I really enjoyed and just stick with it for a good few hours.
To that point, you and I had very different experiences in this build, and you got almost over an hour ahead of me. And again, this was not a final build, but I had really bad RNG luck.
I say I have no idea what happened. You just found a bunch of weak level pistols and I found great shotguns and assault rifles. So I just killed everything, leveled up a bunch of times, and just went through the campaign just super easily. And I just looked over at your screen and you were like 60 to 90 minutes behind me.
You were literally all the way up in orbit in Sanctuary, checking out the ship while I was still grinding like, killer racks, level 9 racks. The level disparity seems a lot tougher than previous Borderlands. Like that's kind of what it made apparent. So like I was level 6 trying to grind level 9 creatures, and I was constantly just running out of ammo. Like I couldn't do it. I actually had to stop and go back to an earlier zone because from 6 to 9 it was not possible. Again, maybe my weapons were just bad and that was just luck of the draw, but I just kept running out of ammo and then there's nothing you can do.
I'll say I'm hoping it was just a glitch on your end and just a bug, because if not, I've never seen that happen in a Borderlands game before, where someone just had such terrible luck they just got stuck in the game, essentially.
I think the takeaway from that was, I mean, maybe they have increased the difficulty between levels, and that can be interesting. It can sort of keep you in some zones to do crazy story side missions. And boy, were those side missions really freaking crazy.
Like, they have clearly let go of the normalized strangeness of Borderlands 1, 2, and pre-sequel and just fully embraced the out-of-this-world tone of Tales from the Borderlands in this game.
I'm just gonna say it. We had a mission where we played as we rescued a stuffed bear who was a navigator of a ship, played by Ice-T, who we then placed in the penis region of a robot, who then ran around and shouted all kinds of things that Ice-T would shout, mostly navigator repeatedly over and over again.
It was one of the strangest levels I've ever played in a video game before, and I'm still trying to figure out whether or not I completely enjoyed it or not.
I'm in. How do I look?
I am trying not to look at your plush codpiece.
Like I said, you got to be into Borderlands. You have to be like on board with the potty humor, because I don't know. It was another mission where we made a bunch of jabbers horny and then took care of them. I mean, killed them, not like took care of them. So across the board, now that we've had a chance to play all of the characters and we've seen about as much of Borderlands as we're gonna get before the release, I don't know, like, what are your final thoughts on which character you're gonna play as?
Yeah, I think this time around, all 4 of the Vault Hunters that you're going to get, there's no wrong choice. Each one of them is built to, that you can play them solo, or they can very easily work together with someone else. And additionally, they all feel unique this time, which is great. Even though we are getting another Siren, a third Siren, she doesn't feel like Maya and Lilith. She is more a close-range character as opposed to the Siren's kind of support character that they've had in the past. We aren't getting another soldier character. Like, all 4 Vault Hunters are unique. They are not copycats of anyone else. So no matter who you pick, you're going to be in for ideally a fun time and a new time that you haven't had in Borderlands before.